Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Politics Now. We're talking about modern politics in modern America. And today, we're going to be discussing why DeSantis is going to have a pretty major loss within the first four states, and especially Iowa, the first state, is going to be a massive defeat for DeSantis. And yeah, let's just get into that. So, DeSantis recently has not been doing that good. And when it comes to the national level, he's doing pretty bad. Now he's polling at around 12%, and Trump is at an all-time high in terms of margins and just general polling data because he's never been above around 56.3, and now he's at 56.6, and he's had a massive boost. He's gone from 52 all the way back up to almost 57. And Biden has gone from around 15. He was kind of on the up end where he was kind of recovering to his pre maybe like 12-point lead or 13 points, and now he's just down to his all-time low. And given the trends of him going farther and farther down, I don't really expect him to recover pretty massively. If anything, he's going to go up a couple of points and then go down even further. So DeSantis, he's not doing great. He's doing terribly in the national polls. He's lost more than half of his base ever since his announcement in, like, what, 4 months ago? How do you lose over half of your base in only 4 months? And to the degree where you were once the front runner who was beating Trump in a lot of these states, and now you can barely win in your own state where you are the governor of that state. So DeSantis, he's not doing well nationally. On a individual state level, it's not too pretty. Iowa is going to be the first state for the primary, and in terms of the caucuses, yeah, it's not looking too good for him. Trump is beating him by 30 points, which, given the fact that this is the first one, and the first one really is a very important state to win because it not only affects polling, but it also kind of shows where your campaign is going to go. There are exceptions to that, but generally, whoever wins Iowa, they're going to have a much, much easier time at winning the other states, as polling data reflects how many states you win in the first four states. And if you can win all of them, then you have a pretty good shot at winning the nomination. If you lose all of them, you're going to have a really hard time. And when it comes to the first four that are likely to have happen, yeah, he's not doing too great. Iowa, Trump is up 30, which is not great at all because that's not even close to a margin of error, or you would have to have somehow a massive margin of error, like a 30-point error, which that's not going to happen. And just given the fact that DeSantis is polling at 12% now, yeah, he's not going to win Iowa. So let's try New Hampshire, where there's a lot more never Trumper votes there. They really don't like Trump there, but still 31 points. And a lot of the vote is split between DeSantis and Chris Christie, and even Tim Scott for the never Trump vote. So that's not really that good. And also, even if you combine them together, DeSantis would still not have enough support to actually win the state. And just given the fact that he keeps going down, I don't really expect him to recover or even win New Hampshire when it comes time to actually decide the winner of New Hampshire. And next, we got South Carolina. South Carolina, that should be a fairly easy state to win because, they voted in Nikki Haley. They have Tim Scott. They are pretty open to neocons, and he's losing by 34 points. So he's definitely not doing well there either. And given the fact that this is the third state where Trump is absolutely dominating out of the first four states, it's not really painting a pleasant picture for DeSantis, and it only gets even more sad. Nevada, again, he's losing by a lot. There hasn't been much polling there, but the polling that we do have, it paints a pretty grim picture. And this is a couple of months ago. So Trump was doing a lot worse a couple of months ago, and DeSantis was doing infinitely better. In around June, he was doing pretty decently. I mean, he wasn't doing great, but he was still within the 25 or 24-point range. And now he's at half of that. So you can definitely expect that Nevada is going to be a much bigger defeat for DeSantis. And especially since Nevada, you got to win a pretty decent large share of the votes to have any chance at winning any sort of any sort of votes there, because if you don't get a large share of the voter base, you're going to have a pretty tough time at winning any votes in a lot of these states. And that brings us to Florida. Florida is also a state where if you want to win that, you need to win a majority, and then if you win the majority, you just get all of the electors. And if you look at Florida, it's also a pretty sad sight to see, because Florida is it should be a more DeSantis friendly state because, he's the governor there. And the most recent poll has Trump up 20. And this is in his own state where he is the governor. So DeSantis should have a much easier time at winning the state. And even 30%, that's not impressive at all. That is the best that DeSantis has been polling in any of these states. And if your best in any state during a primary is 30% in a relatively insignificant polling where most of your other competition are polling at like 3%, you should be polling a lot higher, especially since it's your own state. I mean, even Jeb Bush for a while was polling much higher than this in his own state, and he had much tougher competition. And even when Trump was kicking his ass, yeah, Jeb Bush was still polling very highly there, but still, DeSantis is getting his ass kicked in every single state that he's in. If you look at any state, any of the polling, DeSantis is losing by more than double digit majorities, and it is a sad sight to see. DeSantis is just completely losing to everyone. And if you calculate it, if we stop the election right now and we assign the delegates, Trump has a resounding victory. He basically has 100% of the votes. DeSantis, he would get 98, Vivek would get 32, and all these other people would share around maybe 100 delegates. And Trump, he would get 2,276, which is a pretty big majority. And that is over 2,100 more delegates than DeSantis, which, yeah, considering how you need 1,235 delegates to even win, and DeSantis, if we stopped it right now, would get 98, he's not even close. This isn't even in, like, the margin of error or any sort of margin of error. This is a complete Trump wave and a Trump washout from DeSantis. And Trump is going to win the nomination no matter what. DeSantis has done nothing to try and fix his campaign or do literally anything to actually maybe have a chance at winning the nomination. He's more so just accepted the point and accepted the fact that he's probably not going to win. I mean, he sometimes goes out there and he's like, no, we could still win. The polls are wrong. We could still definitely win. And then, you know, he gets faced with reality and he's like, maybe we could win. I don't know if I'm super lucky, which, yeah, pretty much everything is going against him. Favorability doesn't even do well with DeSantis. DeSantis, he was pretty high up there considering that compared to Trump, where he's had a mostly unfavorable rating throughout his presidency and just his general career after his presidency, he has been doing relatively good compared to him. And now he often polls worse than Trump, and especially when it comes to Republicans, he does poll a lot worse. Ever since his announcement, he has gotten more and more unfavorable until now, where he has more than double digit majorities for his unfavorable ratings, which, given the fact that you generally don't want your unfavorable rating to go above 50 when your favorability is less than 35, it's not really looking too good for DeSantis because DeSantis, he wants to win and he needs to win. Otherwise, he's pretty much wasted his political career for something that he will never get. And that is the real weird thing about DeSantis even running, is the fact that he was never going to win. Let's be honest, he was never going to win the nomination. He was doing relatively fine, and then he just completely screwed it up. We saw it with his first run for governor. He cannot manage an actual campaign in any sort of serious way unless he gets help. And you've seen that in the nomination, even where DeSantis, he was propped up by donors and he couldn't even defeat him. He is a total Jeb Bush, where pretty much he cannot run any sort of campaign by himself and is either propped up by donors or somebody giving him the nomination and giving him his position. And especially since they're both in pretty similar situations. Jeb Bush was the front runner. A lot of people thought he was going to win. And when it was shown that he can't win, a lot of his donors and a lot of his endorsers, they abandoned him for different candidates. And you've seen the same thing with DeSantis, where a lot of the donors that originally supported him, they left for somebody like Nikki Haley and Chris Christie, Mike Pence, and Nikki Haley especially. She got a massive boost in the polls. She was polling at around 3%, and now she was polling at around 6%, and now she's at around 6%, but she's a little bit under. And De- and DeSantis, he really is not doing anything to actually win those donors back, because if he did, then he would fall even further in the polls, because the very few people that actually keep supporting him think he's going to be like this new Trump without all the sort of media scrutiny and all this baggage that comes with Trump. And DeSantis, he's not Trump. He is a at most a discount Trump, where he comes with his own baggage, with the fact that if you actually look at his campaign and his career, yeah, he's more in line with the neocons of old than a real America First MAGA candidate, because he isn't a mega candidate. He is a neocon, and he has always been a neocon ever since he was a representative. And it continues to this day. It's just the fact that a lot more people have realized that he is one, and that he has shown his true colors. He has fallen well beyond into the depths of the 3 point range or below. Because DeSantis, he was liked by people who like Trump, and he was liked by a lot more Republicans because he didn't seem to carry the same baggage that Trump carried. And now he's completely turned his back on the majority of the party that likes Trump and likes that more populist angle of a Republican. And DeSantis abandoning that has cost him dearly, because now he has the small and sinking neocon part of the Republican Party that is currently on fire and is likely to fade out of the party more and more as time goes on. So he's hitched his wagon essentially to a burning car that is driving off of a cliff with a bomb inside it. So DeSantis, enjoy it while it lasts, but you are going to get third place, fourth place, fifth place. It doesn't really matter. You're not going to win the nomination, and you're going to have nothing after that, because you destroyed your political career for nothing. You did it for nothing. You did it to prove to yourself that you were a successful campaigner and a really popular nominee, because if you defeat Trump, that shows that you are a infinitely more popular nominee, but you didn't. You lost by a vast majority, and you are going to lose by a pretty sizable majority. So you pretty much only have yourself to blame. And DeSantis, just drop out at this rate. It's going to be embarrassing no matter what. You might as well save face and maybe maintain some support, if any, and maybe you could get some place in politics after your debacle, but I don't really count that you are actually going to find any place, because you've pretty much destroyed any credibility that you have. So, yeah, if you think Trump could win, leave them in the comments below. If you think DeSantis could win, which no, he just can't. It's no, he's not going to win. If you think Ramaswamy could win, also no, no, just no. Or if you're one of those freaks that think Nikki Haley can win or Chris Christie, just why? Why? But yeah, leave it in the comments below, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.